Hello, Julian here from PopcornFX. In this video we are going to see how to stretch a texture on a ribbon and how to control the RibbonU input of the ribbon renderer. So here I have a pretty basic setup with some leader particles, which are the blue particles here. So these are just using a simple physics node with a trail and drawing themselves as a sprite. And they spawn those ribbon particles, which is a super simple layer with a life of 3 seconds, just a transform node wired in directly into the ribbon renderer. So first thing, I'm going to change the diffuse texture and pick a texture I just made, which is my poor programmer art skills. I will enable the atlas rendering feature because this texture is a 1 by 4 atlas, even though I only painted the first 2 tiles. So I will, in the subdivisions, I will set 1 by 4, and you can see that I now have this little arrow, but if I switch to wireframe, the arrows are displayed on each segment of the ribbon, and this is not what I want. I would like here to stretch the ribbon on the stretch the arrow, on the entire ribbon. So to do that, I will need to expose the custom texture U. So the texture U value of the ribbon renderer is basically the U coordinate, the U texture coordinate across the length of the ribbon. So the V in UV, the V texture coordinate will be across the ribbon, and the U texture coordinate will be along the length of the ribbon. So this allows me to control per particle where the particle should map in the texture. So here you can see that as soon as I enabled custom texture U, my little arrows here disappeared in the viewport. This is because I am now specifying manually the U coordinate, which is 0 because I didn't wire anything. So the easiest thing you can do is to wire in self.lifeRatio. So as soon as you wire in self.lifeRatio, you can see that the arrow is now stretched across the entire ribbon. However, it is in the wrong way around, it's reversed. So you can either insert a 1- node and it will flip the U coordinate, or you can also select the ribbon renderer, enable the texture UV's rendering feature and check flip U, and it will flip the U coordinate. So with this working, you can now play with the U coordinate and use other things than self.lifeRatio. You can use, for instance, parent.lifeRatio for a slightly different effect. In this case, I don't want to flip the U coordinate. So here the texture will appear static on the ribbon. You can wire a curve to remap the U coordinate non-linearly if you wish. Something to note is that if you are using an atlas that tiles on the U direction, and even though you specify a specific texture ID, if you provide a U coordinate that goes beyond the 0-1 range, it will leak to the adjacent atlas tiles. So that's something to be aware of. Now you'll notice here, if I switch back to wireframe, that there is a lot of empty wasted space. So let me make this bigger. Yeah, you can see that in my texture, the arrow doesn't go all the way to the edge of the texture. So I have a bunch of empty space here. This is more visible with the life ratio. So here, if I want the arrow tip to touch the leader particle, instead of just using self-life ratio, instead I can use a curve I'll switch this to linear. And here, if I move the starting point, this allows me to change how the u-coordinate is mapped, and therefore to tweak it so that the arrow tip touches the leading particle. So that's basically it. That's how you customize the texture u-coordinate. You can play with this and combine it with other values to make it scroll backwards or some other crazy stuff. That's it for this video. Hope you liked it and it was useful, and see you next time.